Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another video. So today we're going to be talking about the best decks to take advantage of the new card from Phyrexia, All Will Be One, Tyranax Rex. So as of the time of this recording, most of the spoilers are done, and so far Tyranax Rex is my favorite card in the set. It's probably going to be one of my top 3 favorite cards in the game once all is said and done. I'm really excited to share the different deck ideas with you. So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about 4 different formats. We're going to be talking about Standard, Pioneer, Modern, surprisingly, and Commander. So we're going to be going over essentially the decks that can take advantage of a card like Tyranax Rex, as well as I shared one list that I will kind of go over a little bit in some different decks that we could play Tyranax Rex in. So, just a quick reminder, just in case I forget at the end of the video, I will be leaving all of the decks in the description below if you want to check them out for yourself. They're on MTG Goldfish. And also let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Do you already have decks lined up you're going to put this in? Do you think you want to play it in another format I didn't list, I guess, like Legacy or something like that? I'm not sure. Just let me know in the comments. But we're going to be hopping right into it here. So, Tyranax Rex. Obviously, we're going to go over the card for those who haven't seen the card yet. So, it is 4 green, green, green for an 8/8 Phyrexian dinosaur. This spell can't be countered as Trample, Ward 4, Haste, and Toxic 4. So Ward 4, those who don't know, is kind of like Hexproof, except it's whenever it's targeted by a spell and opponent controls, spell or ability and opponent controls, it is countered unless they pay 4 mana. And then Toxic 4. Players dealt combat damage by this creature also get 4 poison counters. So incredibly awesome card. Probably the biggest limited bomb in Phyrexia, most likely. But this card just hits really, really hard. So we're going to go over some different decks that we can play this in. So starting with Standard, green base monster decks. So that was kind of a given. You know, it's a big 8/8 dinosaur. Of course, monster decks are going to want to play it. So green base obviously being decks that are going to be primarily green. You know, whether or not it's green-black, green-red, green-white, or even just mono-green. You know, it's standard. Mono-green, definitely just playable. It also could be a late game finisher in mid range. So if there's like a rock deck, which is Golgari, if there's like a Jund deck, you know, Sultai, kind of almost a similar rule as Carnage Tyrant played years ago when it was in Standard. When Carnage Tyrant was in Standard, there were a lot of like Sultai and Golgari mid-range decks that were playing it as a finisher to get the game over with. And there was also a lot of control in that metagame, so it was really, really good at fighting those control decks. Most likely going to be a very similar role in this upcoming Standard. And then as always, Ramp. If there is a green Ramp deck in this format, Tyranax Rex is going to be one of the best cards to play in the Ramp deck. From my knowledge, there is not really a Ramp deck currently in Standard right now. I know it's a lot of black decks, but if there's a Ramp deck, even toward the end of its life in Standard, you're going to want to play Tyranax Rex. So I shared one Standard list here today. So I haven't played Standard in a while. Looking to actually get back into it here, but this is a concept list I built. So it's essentially mono green. I didn't include the sideboard because it's kind of, I haven't really came to a decision yet, but it's going to be mostly black. Our only black in the main is going to be Glissa's Sunslayer, the new one that is from Phyrexia. Once again, if you don't know what any of these cards do, I'm leaving the deck list in the description. So essentially what you got here, you get you're just playing the only 1-drop Senate Pack Leader. You've got some guys that make mana like Jewel Thief, and you've got Llanowar Loam Speaker, some good 3/4 drops. So we've got Bloated Contaminator, Ulvenwald Oddity. Then we move into the monsters. We've got Thrun, Breaker of Wishes, Defiler of Vigor, and as always, Tyranax Rex. So that's kind of the concept list I have going. More than likely, this is not going to be the final list that I'm going to end up building, but just kind of to give you an idea of what you'd maybe be looking to play in this new format. I know green has not been very prevalent in Standard as of late, so maybe Tyranax Rex can help bring that deck back to the front of the metagame. So, alright, we're going to hop into Pioneer. So Pioneer, what can we expect from Tyranax Rex in Pioneer? So, Vivian Arcbow Ranger, Wish Target. So for those who don't know, Vivian Arcbow Ranger, it's a Planeswalker that's in Pioneer. So essentially her -5, she starts at 4 loyalty. Her -5 is essentially search your sideboard for a creature and put it in your hand. So for decks that play Vivian and Arcbow Ranger, kind of like the old style mono green devotion list, but there's also, you know, tons of green aggro decks that play Vivian. Having that as a potential target is really great, because sometimes late game you're going to have boatloads of mana. Sometimes you need to punch in against control. It's just a great option to bring. I play a lot of Vivian Arcbow Ranger in Pioneer, and I've had Carnage Tyrant in that slot, but maybe now something I can consider is playing Tyranax Rex. So just an option. Olbosh in regular monsters. So Olbosh is set, well, you can only play odd converted mana cost spells with Olbosh, but with Olbosh, it's, well, with Tyranax Rex, it's 7 mana, which is odd, so we can play it in there. Or you can play it in regular monsters decks, which is really, really great. It's probably going to be the top of your curve. It's going to be a really, really great curve topper, though, once you get it on the battlefield. Ideally on turns 5. And then Mono Green Devotion with a question mark. So, is this a card that Mono Green Devotion can play? I would say so. Is it going to be main board card? Absolutely not. Tyranax Rex would be a card where you would play 1 to 2 in the sideboard where, you know, let's say your opponent is ready. They are ready to stop your Nykthos. They're ready to, you know, stop. They got counter spells, you know, Disdainful Strokes. They've got everything to stop what you're doing. And then instead of trying to go on the combo plan, you just slam an 8/8, trample haste, can't be countered dinosaur. So I think it's a potentially a very good card that they could play. Again, it would be a sideboard option to bring in. It's not going to be like a main board 4 of them or anything like that. But, so I do have a fun list to share with you. So this is a Gruul Monsters list that I've shared. I have not came to a final list that I really want to play in terms of with Tyranax Rex and Pioneer. I've got a lot of different decks I want to test. But, so this one is interesting. So we have the 4 mana Dorks Sylvan Caryatid package. That's, you know, standard ramp. 1 Questing Beast. We got the Steel Leaf Champions. And we have Glorybringer and Goldspan Dragon along with Tyranax Rex. Then we've got some other miscellaneous cards, but the big hitter is See the Unwritten. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's Toward the Edge by the Copperline Gorges. So 6 mana, sorcery. Reveal the top 8 cards of your library. You can put a creature card into play, but if you have Ferocious, where when the spell resolves, if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, you can put 2 creatures into play. So being able to dig 8 deep and put your best 2 creatures in play is incredible. Spoiler alert, all of our big guys are all 4 or greater, so our Ferocious is going to be extremely easy to trigger with this deck. This is kind of the idea. So, you know, like turns 3, 4, 5, you're getting in with your monsters, slam a See the Unwritten, and all of our big threats have haste, like Glorybringer and Goldspan and Tyranax Rex, so you're like, Goldspan Tyranax Rex, attack for 12, blow something up, you know, just wrecking your opponent. So that's kind of the concept list I have here. Obviously, I'm going to go through some tweaks. I would like to try Tyranax Rex in a Gwenna deck. For those who haven't seen it, I did post a Gruul Defiler Vigor aggro deck a couple weeks ago. If you want to check that out, I want to try that in that kind of style. But this is what I've got going right now. And as always, if you want to check it out, it's going to be in the description below. So next, we're going to move to Modern. So I put a question mark on it because obviously a card historically, like Tyranax Rex, has never been able to get any foothold in the metagame. When Carnage Tyrant was first printed, it was extremely niche. Really, no decks were playing Carnage Tyrant just because of where the metagame's at. They don't typically want a card like this. So what are we going to play it in? So for Modern, we have Amulet Titan. So with Amulet Titan, they play a lot of interesting cards in the sense that, you know, they're a combo deck, they've got their Primeval Titan, they've kind of got a game plan, but potentially it could be a card they bring in the sideboard, from the sideboard, for, you know, like if our opponent's playing like Solitudes and all the removal, they just need to get some extra damage in. They could potentially play a card like Phyrexian, not Phyrexian, oh my goodness, like Tyranax Rex. So it is an option, as well as Monster Ponza. So for those who don't know, I haven't talked about it recently, but I used to be a really big Ponza player in Modern back in the day. And so Monster Ponza is interesting where, you know, you go big. Obviously, it's monsters. You're going to be playing a lot of big creatures typically. So the concept list I shared today is a concept Modern list. So It's interesting in the sense that there's not a lot of monsters in there per se, but the idea is you're just a mid-range deck. You're playing Ren and 6, Clothis, Fury, burning out your opponent, getting rid of their creatures. You have endurance. Keep that battlefield clear, so that way when you do reach enough mana, you're able to play your Tyranax Rexes, get that damage in there, and get the game over with. So this is kind of the concept I built. It's definitely, it would probably need some more retooling. I'd like to fit like 1 or 2 more aggressive 5-drops in there. Maybe like the new Thrun potentially. But this is kind of a concept list if you really wanted to try Tyranax Rex in Modern. And as always, if you're playing in Modern, if you're playing a big mono green deck, Tyranax Rex is probably the best thing. If you're playing just like a mono green monsters, mono green ramp in Modern, you're trying to make it work, Tyranax Rex is probably the best card you can play, honestly, in the entire deck. With Ward 4, it is extremely hard to kill. So, our last slot, Commander. What do we want to play in Commander? So, a couple different decks. So, Gishath, Dinosaur Tribal. So, for those who don't know with Gishath, is whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you reveal that many cards and put all dinos revealed into play. Obviously, Tyranax Rex is one of the best dinosaurs you can put into play off of Gishath's trigger. So, if you're playing Dinosaur Tribal, it's an excellent card to play. Toxic and Infect decks. So, for those who aren't aware, one of the pre-constructed decks that will be for Phyrexia All Will Be One is going to be a Toxic, like, poison counter deck. If you're playing a Toxic poison counter deck in green, you're definitely going to want Tyranax Rex. Obviously, with a Toxic 4, being able to, if you're trying to kill them with Infect, that's almost half their life total, realistically. So, Toxic 4 is going to be great for a deck like that, especially with all the proliferate and stuff like that. So, definitely going to want it in there. And as always, green monsters. Are you just playing a big, stinking green creature deck in Commander? Like you're trying to play all the biggest green fatties in the format? You're going to want Phyrexia. I keep saying Phyrexia. My goodness, Tyranax Rex. Tyranax Rex. You're going to want that in the list. It's 8/8, Ward 4. It's haste. It's going to, your opponent, they swing in for a whole bunch. You untap. You're like, monster or 2 monsters. Bam, hit you right back, and you take them out of the game. So those are kind of what you'd want to play it in Commander, I would say, overall. It's just a really unique card. I mean, realistically, any green deck could play it. I mean, there's no reason they couldn't. So, all right, so we've reached the end of the video. Thanks for watching. So, let me know in the comments below, is there any decks that you want to play Tyranax Rex in? Let me know, what do you think of the card Tyranax Rex? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you loathing playing against it in the upcoming set? What are you thinking? And as always, the deck lists are going to be in the description below if you want to check them out. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.